Hopefully these will work for me today. Oops, don't want to dump my coffee off either. Hey guys, it's nice to see you. You can't see the sign. It says Justice for Sebastian on the whiteboard. We're going to start using that whiteboard. We're going to do a Karl Rove. You guys don't know who he is. He's a guy that does political commentary, and he always uses a whiteboard to connect the dots for people. And so I'm going to pull that. I've been watching it for years. Time for us to pull it too. So this is a perfect whiteboard to do it on. Guys, I want to thank you. You know what? I think we're a little cleaning the glasses. Might as well clean that. There we go. You guys can see me now. So I just want to thank everybody. Hey, Stephanie, good morning, my love. Happy Saturday. I hope you're doing well. Happy Saturday. It's nice to see you. It's nice to see you. So I am kind of getting ready. I got a lot of legal paperwork to finalize and all this other garbage and dealing with a lying POS attorney. I can't wait to slam him in my pleadings. What a liar. What a liar, liar, pants on fire. Nice to see you, Stephanie, Dawn, Brenda, Michelle, Tracy. Good morning, Peggy, Amanda. It's nice to see you. Our beautiful Nani is up in the house. Good morning. Yes, we are part of the coffee club, but I have to be honest with you. I only got about that much coffee left. I decided to party without y'all this morning. We are Cody's Voice. Good morning. I hope, how is that? You know what? I haven't even looked at Cody's, Cody Bigsby in a really long time. State police make available Cody alert for missing and endangered children. Lawmakers reflect on early progress of Cody alert for missing children. They're making something in his name. Oh, I love that. That's so. I mean, it's sad. It's sad that it takes a child being gravely injured for these type of alerts to come out, but I can't imagine any other better way to honor this child. And what a sad case that was. You know, his father seemed, in all fairness, a little overwhelmed. He had a lot of children to take care of, a lot of young children to take care of, plus work. Didn't have family around. Not that it's any excuse whatsoever. It's not. But it's just sad that, you know, it sounds like, once again, Child Protective Services had been involved in this child's life in the past prior to him missing. And these are, you know, some of the issues I have, because I'm going on a tangent and I apologize, but these are some of the issues that I have with these cases, is because there's just not enough being done. It seems to me that the Department of Children and Family Service many times are wrong. They take kids from good homes and leave kids in bad homes to be subjected to abuse and death. And it's really problematic, because I feel like sometimes they do, like, say, drug testing or something like that. You have marijuana in your system, and boom, your child's taken. Well, when you have verbal abuse, mental abuse, and some physical abuse that's not really showing up, or in areas that you don't really readily see, those children get a free pass to stay with their abuser while they're focusing on something as low level as marijuana consumption. And, you know, and I'm not saying that that's the case here, but it's a case, it's a pattern that I've seen around this country, and it's really starting to wear on me. Why we're not doing more, why we're not taking these cases seriously, why are we judging people based upon how clean their house is, and you know, abuse, it happens everywhere. I can tell you, we live next to doctors, lawyers, car dealerships. Nobody knew what was going on inside our home. I had a lot of negative effects by the stuff that went on inside my home. I love both my parents. I know both my parents love me. I know they did better than, you know, their parents did. And, you know, the cycle was broke with me and my sister. So there's a lot of good that came from my family, but there's still some bad. I never felt I was in jeopardy of losing my life. I don't feel that I was in jeopardy of ever losing my life in my house. I had great parents that loved me. They weren't very nice or kind to one another, more so than us, you know. So we came from a lot of money, you know, not a lot of money. We weren't like rich, but we weren't, you know, we weren't living in a shoebox, okay? I didn't have a golden spoon in my mouth, but I had a brass spoon in my mouth, you know? I did, there's just a lot. And I think over time, you know, we're getting better as a society in identifying and notifying about abuse, but there's so much work left to do. I have a pet peeve where most of our children that we're searching for, that we perceive as deceased or missing, are coming from violent homes or homes that abuse them. And the Department of Children and Family Services were in that home, were monitoring the situation, but did not pull the child out of the home, and the child comes up missing. And it kind of, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. I don't understand how it's so difficult to get it right. I look at these things, I'm a very black and white person. It's either happening or it's not. And an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So I'm sorry, but I feel like in some of these cases, especially with better looking homes, they need to start realizing that abuse happens even behind those really nice home doors. And not that this was the case. I mean, he sounded like he lived in a decent area. I'm not sure. I never visited out there personally. I know of a person that I once associated with did some ground searches and stuff out there. And it looked like a fairly, you know, decent area for children. I could be completely wrong, but that's what it looked like from my purview. True Crime Addict, it's nice to see you. Danielle, that's Supernant. My hook on phonics is broken. Paula, it's nice to see you. Laura, Janice, Gypsy, hey, Ann, it's nice to see you, my love. I hope you're doing well today. Amanda, Michelle, Dad got 45 years. Oh, hallelujah, hallelujah. And you know what's bothersome to me is these, in situations like this, they don't call law enforcement because they know they did wrong. They don't call law enforcement because they know that they either neglected their child to death, they beat their child to death, or they were the reason that their child is no longer on this earth. And that's why they don't call the cops. If it was an accident, it was an injury, if it was just a medical condition, normal people call for help to do everything they can to save their child. Things happen all the time. Things happen in front of parents all the time. And you get 911 calls from those parents freaking out, wanting somebody, anybody to get there right now to save their child. Their child's in distress. Their child, you know, and you don't get that with some of the parents that we're covering. And some of the cases that we are covering. And that's a lot to do with the case. That's the prime topic point of today. But hallelujah. Good morning, Island Girl. It's nice to see you. Tiralata, is that what it is? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Melanie, it's nice to see you. Facing an additional 152 years. Yeah, nice. Too many children missing in Tennessee. Maybe on Tuesday, get better government. Yeah, you know, people you're not going to get any changes. Listen, I'm a firm believer that the insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. A lot of these politicians have been in place for many years. Things are not getting better. As a matter of fact, and from my purview, especially in Tennessee, they're getting worse. You know, it's not that there's not good politicians trying to push for good common sense laws and rules and regulations. It's just not enough. There's not enough on that vein. There's not enough doing the right work. You know, they're doing, you know, emotional pleads instead of actual work. In a lot of cases, they're not funding their police department correctly. They're not forcing the police departments to stay open during nights and weekends. To me, It's lazy. It's lazy. And a lot of that laziness is a courtesy of Tennessee not properly funding their state and their law enforcement. And they're taking a lackadaisy approach to it. Yes, we do not want government intrusion. I'm a conservative political advocate and activist, okay? I don't want government intrusion in my life at all. You know, the less the better, right? The less the better. But the core reason why we have our government, the whole reason, before we paid politicians, before we started sending trillions of dollars of our hard-earned money overseas to other countries, our government was formulated for very specific reasons. Law and order, infrastructure, and schools. Now, that has manifested to what we have 200 years later, 200 plus years later, and what we're dealing with now, where there's so much bureaucracy, we're up to our necks in taxes and up to our necks in bullshit, honestly. But the one purpose, the one key focus of our original setting up of taxes throughout the country was for infrastructure and law enforcement. And you got Tennessee that's got lazy law. I shouldn't say it like that sounds awful. But you know what I'm saying. They won't leave their buildings open. You know what that tells me? Money. Money. Because if they were getting proper money to keep their police departments open, they would keep their police departments open. They would much rather have people come to the police department than them having to send cruisers out to the houses. It seems like it costs more to have people have to go meet officers instead of just having them meet them at the police station nights and weekends. They can't even have access. I would lose my stuff if Rick Wells closed our police departments nights and weekends. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. We have safe places. Our law enforcement are safe places for anybody and everybody in the state of Florida. There are 2 states right now that I know that do not do it, and we have some cases in those states. And we have some odd behavior in those states by politicians and law enforcement. And those are Tennessee and North Carolina. I'm not sure what other states are like that, but I know it's few and far between. We got a lot of states, and very limited states close their police departments, okay? If you can't afford to have your police department open, the state needs to run it, the county needs to run it, I don't know. Somebody needs to run it. You're broke, you know? Law and order has got to be a must in this country when we have open borders and we don't know who is living next to us anymore. It's a scary situation, in my opinion. Melanie, it's nice to see you. Betty, I have not been on here for a long time, but I lost oh my goodness. I'm so sorry, Ann. He was just 35 years old, and yesterday he would have been 36. I miss him so much. I am so sorry to hear that, Ann. I know you and I have not always gotten along and have not always, seen eye to eye on certain aspects, but we've all cared about each other, and that breaks my heart. I'm very, very sorry to hear that. I really am. We'll just take a few moments, if everybody would like to, maybe throw some blue hearts up in the chat for Ann, and just take a few moments, maybe 5 or 6 seconds, just of silence. I'm really sorry to hear that, Ann. That's the grief, and you're a mom. I got to tell you, one of the hardest things is a mom losing a child. It's one of the hardest parts of my job is that, you know, I mean, it's hard for the father, and seeing a father break down just breaks my heart because guys don't, are not accustomed to crying or showing emotion. But it still doesn't compare to a mom and her pain that she goes through. I'm really sorry. Oh, wow. Well, tomorrow's church, and we'll definitely be praying for you in church. Sheila, it's nice to see you. Kendra, Gypsy, good morning. Michelle, I got time today. So do I. Good morning, Izzy girl. It's nice to see you. I thought after Harmony's case, we would be more serious about child abuse. Yeah. You would think that we as the public see these huge gaps and in policy and huge issues, but it's astounding that our federal government doesn't see it or doesn't fix it, or it takes an act of Congress just to get anything fixed. There's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things, and our government having to be told how to handle their business it's ridiculous. Why are we paying them if they can't handle their business? That's my point. I think all of this stuff needs to go, like, it's federally funded, it's state, I guess, sponsored, it's ran by the states. I don't know how the whole thing works. We need to dive into the children and family services and what goes on there. Shelly, it's nice to see you. Good morning, Robin, Gigi, Mr. and Mrs. Car Guy, it's nice to see you. Baby Duck, a true psychic, it's nice to see you. Oh, Nola's mom, hey, how are you doing? And we just want to give a shout out. I know Merle's mom is still out there watching Bullhorn Betty, probably not able to really chat, but we're always thinking about you. So I just wanted to say a big shout out. Hey, Southern Grammy, I don't know if she's in the chat yet, but it's nice to see, hear from her and see from her, because she's the one that, was in a car wreck. She had just started advocating and just got a business, and then boom, everything changed literally in a split second. It's hard to watch the struggle. SRK, it's nice to see you. Paula, good morning. Michelle, Triangel, big kisses, big kisses to you too. It's nice to see you. Oh, our beautiful stuffers, the original coin of the coffee beaners. The beaners. Coffee beans. Oh boy. His doctor didn't do him right. He had an abscess on his liver, and he had Crohn's disease. The doctor said not his liver. It tucked him, losing 35 pounds to check to see if so. Oh. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't think people understand, like my cousin's husband, he suffers from Crohn's disease, and I don't think I quite understand how, one, painful it is, and that it can cause major complications throughout your life. I think people are really ignorant to some of these things. I know I am, and I have somebody that has Crohn's disease in my family, and it's an abscess on the liver. It's just... Geez. It seems like that would have been very painful. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Aw, look at all the blue hearts. Aw, you guys are so sweet. We got a loving family here. We do. If I missed over you, I just want to say good morning to everybody in here. We already got 290 people here, and I've already chatted for almost 20 minutes about everything besides the topic of conversation. We're going to get over to Sebastian Rogers and we're going to listen to Silver's on the Scene. I hadn't had an opportunity. I know I've been asking people about it, and so I decided to do some research this morning and decided that there are a couple of videos that's going to take us a little while that we need to listen to. And part of my research, I came across somebody in our group, and I wanted to read this stuff to you because this is about the unscrupulous PI. And, everybody keeps thinking he's this great guy, and he's not. He is part of this corrupt organization. And every time we turn around, we learn something new about how dirty and nasty this guy is. And this is no different. This is the PI versus Justin Pincus. And this particular case is another case where he slandered, defamed, bullied, stalked, and all of these other things and then tried to sue the guy to absolve himself of any wrongdoing, even though it was just a way to try to get away from doing dirty stuff. So I wanted you guys to hear this. This was actually posted on October 28th. And it's on Justice for Sebastian. And it says a few excerpts from another legal case this investigator is involved in, and all of this public record. This guy really has been like this: defamation, doxing, blackmailing, death threats, relentless harassment, accusing people of DV, domestic violence, and being unemployed or mentally ill, threatens to have people arrested over nothing, terrorizes family of missing children, even accuses someone of falsely posing as law enforcement officer. He did the exact same thing this time around in this case, in the Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers case. So now we're showing a massive history. Like, this guy is doing this. This is an unscrupulous PI. Is he licensed? Yes, he is. Is he legitimate? No, he's not. And I do believe 100% he lied on applications to get the licensing. And we will be getting to the bottom of it in due time. But what he's doing is unlawful. It goes against his PI license. And he's a disgusting individual. He's a disgusting individual that seems to always attack mostly women. So that should tell you how he feels about women. He's abusive, he's verbally abusive, and when he doesn't get his way, he tries to throw people in jail. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Doesn't it? He also has complaints against his license in Tennessee 2 years before becoming involved in Sebastian's case, but some reason it was ignored. One of those was mine, which was very well pled as well. This is insane. He has been involved behind the scenes since April, and he has a pattern. He's a common denominator, and he's absolutely the root of the chaos. So in this case, this is what it says. The defendant has not filed any false defamatory police department, because he's the plaintiff. He tried to negate his responsibility and being in trouble because he's got, police reports filed against him. So he did this. He thought he was smart by preemptively trying to sue this guy, right? And we all know who this man is, and we know that what he's saying, what the defendant is saying in this case is true about this unscrupulous, unethical, and unprofessional PI. And it says the defendant hasn't filed any false police report. Here's the highlighted part. The defendant has filed legal and legitimate police reports against the plaintiff for his continued stalking, harassment, threats, and doxing of his private information, including cell phone numbers, address, and real-time location. Sounds pretty familiar. Let's get over to the next highlighted area. It says the plaintiff continued to escalate his harassment, including threatening contact the defendant's clients and all. So he's not only doxing, but he's actually saying, I'm going to reach out to your clients and start telling him this. Does this sound pretty familiar, doesn't it? Sounds pretty familiar. Plaintiff continues to escalate. Remember, the plaintiff is this unscrupulous PI. The plaintiff continues to escalate his harassment, including threatening to contact defendant's clients and all, to cause him reputational and economic harm, and to contact his parents to get him forced evaluated, while alleging the defendant had mental illness on his Twitter, to his Twitter followers. Does this sound familiar? It seems like he's using the same playbook, the unscrupulous, illegal, unlawful playbook from case to case. Let's listen to the next highlighted part. This was just the plaintiff's latest effort to imprison defendant falsely. Sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? Here's another one. It says, this includes the plaintiff's problematic tendencies, such as being verbally abusive to dozens of vulnerable women, psychologically lying, and frequently contradicting claims, reported threats, and death wishes toward others, manipulative tactics and narratives, and fabricating professional licensure, to name a few. Wow. Wow. Let's read the next highlighted part. The defendant's knowledge at the time of filing this, only the state of Tennessee closed the defendant's complaint without investigating. I had an investigation on my complaint, while others are still under investigation. Let's go to the next highlighted part. The defendant agrees that the plaintiff was never fired from these missing person case because he was never hired for them. And he knows this, but this is another attempt to mislead the courts. Instead, the plaintiff inserts and embeds himself into families of missing persons, even admitted to stalking out the real life's physical location of one family, preys on another family's desperation, sells himself as a professionally licensed private investigator where he often isn't licensed, and obtains information under false pretenses. The plaintiff then engages in unprofessional, irresponsible, reckless, abusive, defamatory, and sometimes other unlawful conduct. Sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? Sounds like a pattern of behavior. The defendant will also highlight again that the plaintiff that provably made allegations about the defendant committing DV, domestic violence, and threatening to post the non-existence charge on Twitter. Sounds really familiar. Defendant claims that he was a licensed private investigator that donates significant numbers of hours to pro bono or volunteer work to locate missing persons, have multiple holes, and contradictions the published statements. He unlawfully promotes himself and performs private investigative services where he was not legally licensed. California was the most evidential. He abused and defamed multiple families of missing persons and their advocates. The defendant will be submitting statements from a few as previously stated. The plaintiff advises himself as a paid investigator online who charges $1,000 per hour, $1,500 per hour, and or $2,000 per hour, which are rates regularly rotated between every few days and weeks, which in and of itself raises a lot of red flags. The plaintiff only claims to be pro bono and volunteer when it comes to legal matters like this, or when trying to justify his unlicensed private investigation activities. Sounds pretty familiar. The defendant at no point attempted an unusual amount of interaction between himself and the plaintiff being the unscrupulous PI. Despite the plaintiff's outrageous claims, the defendant has struggled since March of 2022 to get plaintiff to leave him alone and stop his obsessive tweeting about him. Wow, sounds pretty familiar. The plaintiff knows that the defendant has been prominently and successfully involved in the missing person advocacy community from its initial start in the summer of 2021, before the plaintiff launched his harassment and defamation campaign of the defendant. Unprovoked, the defendant and the plaintiff had occasional and cordial communication, including the plaintiff asked the defendant for help with his alleged photography website. The defendant publicly stood up for the plaintiff when he was mocked over old photography work. The plaintiff congratulated the defendant for his success in locating a missing woman and reuniting her with her family. The defendant asked the plaintiff for help with missing case, and he publicly and privately agreed to. While the plaintiff claims the defendant began defamation against him with Coty, C-O-T-Y. This is another highlighted part. This is, again, sounds very familiar. The plaintiff, being the unscrupulous PI, did in fact author and had a third party send Coty Eady a letter blackmailing her to keep quiet. Otherwise, he would release communications that Coty Eady felt could destroy her marriage. Sound familiar? If you don't do what he says, he's going to destroy you. If you don't work with him, he's going to expose you. Sound familiar? The defendant had possession of this digital letter. The plaintiff has admitted publicly to sending this letter to third-party acquaintance, admitted to the defendant that she sent the letter on the plaintiff's behalf, expressing shame for doing so. The plaintiff seems to have lost track of his lies, as he had publicly admitted on Twitter to sending the letter to Coty Eady, and also accidentally tweeting it to his own account himself before deleting it. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Sounds like a pattern of behavior. She even agrees at one point to file a police report against the plaintiff, which is the unscrupulous PI, noting to the defendant that she was scared of speaking out against him publicly. I am not. He's trash. He's unethical. If you have a story related to this unscrupulous PI, please come forward. Give me an email of your interaction with him and what happened, and we'll turn that over to the attorneys. Please come forward and give us that information if you have been a victim of this unscrupulous PI, and we have quite a bit on him. Publicly admitted on Twitter, sending this letter to Cody Eady. Okay, we read that. And then here's another one. It says, she even agreed at one point to file a police report against the plaintiff, noting that the defendant, that she was scared of speaking out publicly against him. The defendant has documentation for both his communications with Cody Eady and screenshots of similar conversations she's had with others. Seems awfully familiar. The plaintiff, i.e. the unscrupulous PI, continues to make public threats toward Cody Eady even after she deactivated from social media, terrified in fear from initial blackmail letter, which eventually influenced her to change her public story. Sad. I can tell you, there's nothing that man can do to make me shut up about his horrible business practices. It's unlawful, it's illegal, and he should be in jail. Never mind the fact that he impersonated a person and filed a federal document against me in a federal court, acting as another person and lying under oath saying he was a different person altogether when it was totally him doing it. He had control over the email. He's the one that filed the paperwork. He's the one that signed that attesting under oath that he is a woman and not a man. He is unscrupulous, unlawful, and should be held accountable for his actions. Just saying. The plaintiff continued to make public threats. Oh, the blackmail. The plaintiff has used her changed story to continuously defame the defendant, as many female victims of abuse men can attest to, and as Cody Eady confirms to the defendant and other privately, she's changed her story to try to make this all go away, fearing her safety from the plaintiff. Pretty scary stuff. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? The defendant was in his constitutional rights to file a police report, given that the plaintiff would not stop stalking, harassing, insulting, defaming, threatening, and doxing his private information online, all of which the plaintiff escalated over time. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? The defendant has never posed as law enforcement official despite the plaintiff's claim. The defendant believes that the plaintiff fabricated this allegation to distract from his own unlawful promotion of himself as a licensed private investigator where he was not licensed, and his unlawful offer to minors in an active investigation, which the court may find to be impersonation of a police officer. The defendant never claimed that the plaintiff plaintiff worked under him. The defendant did, however, invite the plaintiff into the case that he had expressed permission from the family and local police detectives to be involved in, and subsequently had commitment from the plaintiff to help him on after the defendant. I can't read the rest of that, but it cut off. But you guys see, it sounds all very, very familiar. The plaintiff attempts to continue to bully the defendant with his lawsuit by suggesting he couldn't find any friends of the defendant, that he needed mental health treatment. The plaintiff knows he could have reached out to any of the dozen of the defendant's friends from within the missing person community who the plaintiff being the unscrupulous PI, that has contact for. But he knows they all oppose him for the same reason the defendant does. His history of abusive, dishonest, and defamatory conduct toward the defendants themselves, families of missing persons, and others. Wow. So this has been going on for years. This unscrupulous practice has been going on for years, affecting many, many, many victims. Let's keep going. Sounds pretty familiar. That's all I gotta say. Sounds like a pattern of behavior, if you ask me. Sounds like somebody that would want to stifle that down, like creating distractions. I'm not a party to this. Let me put this non-party thing in, so if anybody sees me getting it, they'll just assume that it's because of the non-party filing. No, you are a criminal, in my opinion. Sounds like I'm not alone. If the plaintiff actually believed the defendant suffered from mental illness, he would have sought other remedies, not financial extortion via a frivolous lawsuit. The court should agree that people don't entertain and take to court somebody who they think is mentally incapable and unemployed, who claim that they want to help the person, but asks for punitive damages at the same time. Wow. How small is your little d, unscrupulous PI? Because you know what? You got to have a real small one to have to act this pompous. Everybody knows that somebody acts like this has got a little Twinkie in their pants. Just saying. Just saying. The defendant has not filed any false or defamatory police reports. The defendant filed legal, legitimate police reports against the plaintiff for his continuous stalking, harassment, threats, and doxing of his private information. The plaintiff continues to escalate. Is this regurgitating everything I just played? Forced evaluate. I think so. Yeah, I think this is just repeating all those. Yeah, I think we're done. Yeah, that's it. So talk about wow. And this is legitimate reporting. This is corroborated from public records. So this was from 2022. We're almost in 2025. Doesn't sound like he's changed his practices or procedures. And it sounds like it's time for us to start taking it seriously that this person that lied on multiple applications to be licensed as a PI doesn't know what the heck he's doing and is committing crimes under the guise of a private investigator. And then he's trying to interject and say, I'm the only private investigator. Well, if you look at how you got that private investigator's license, I'm sure if you told the truth on some of those applications, you would not have been provided a private license, a private investigator license. He's unscrupulous, and he, quite frankly, needs to be shut down. I think once the courts see how ruthless he is and what he does to these families, it's going to prove that he's not a licensed or should not be a licensed PI. So just thought I'd put that out there. It's just like, wow, 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 and wow. I just want to show you our victims. Somebody else did this. There's our victims, all of our victims in Tennessee, all of them know these, like Summer Wells has been going on since 2021. The two girls in the middle, Layla Santinello and Holland Snap, have been missing since 2023. And of course, Sebastian Rogers has been missing since 2024. None of them have been found. Nobody's been held accountable. And all four are, of course, in Tennessee. Just saying. Just saying. All of them are in Tennessee. I know you guys can't see it, but it says justice for Sebastian up there. It says justice for Sebastian. I guess I'm going to have to make the bubble letters. I was hoping it'd come in clear, but it didn't. So I'll make bigger bubble letters and color them in so we can see it a little better. All right, so getting on to our meat and potatoes of this. I thought it was... I think we should hear Silver's on the scene. This is the visit to the job site, the stepfather's job site. And no, it's not stalking to follow the leads of a case, a public interest case. Everybody else is allowed to go to these places but Bullhorn Betty. I find it disgusting. I find that this communist county is violating my rights right and left. Other people can do it, not be charged or held accountable, but somehow when I do it and don't talk to anybody, I am stalking and harassing people. I can't be harassing people if I'm not talking to them. If they choose to come over to my show and choose to watch it, that's the choice that they're choosing to make. They can't blame me for what's coming out of my mouth. I have a right to say whatever the hell I want to say in America, and I'm going to say whatever the hell I want to say in America. And if I go too far, guess what they can do? They can sue me for defamation, but they better bring their ass to Florida instead of trying to do all this stuff in Tennessee unlawfully. They're trying to shut me up through protective orders for what they perceive as defamation. And it's co-signed by an idiot judge. I'm so sick of this place. But they're so scared of me, they keep dragging me back there. So I've decided I'm going to rent a place. I'm going to become a taxpayer, and I'm going to be making sure that I'm there to vote in their freaking their votes in 2026 and in 2028. I'm absolutely going to be a voter in Sumner County. I don't think they know me too well, right? I don't threaten people, and I don't need harm or violence to do what I need to do. But I am an American, and I'll be damned if my government's going to try to control me when I'm not breaking the freaking law. Damned.
Sides.
Just saying.
Of Christopher Proudfoot. Oh, let me stop. Hold on. One thing. Let me jump in here. What I was told, and everything in here is allegedly, in my opinion. So I was told information. I'm about to share it. I think it's big. I think it's huge. I was told information by a co-worker of Christopher Proudfoot's. So I'm taking that information. I'm sharing it. I'm not going to share any names. Okay? There's a couple of details. I'm not going to get too specific. I'll get specific enough you'll understand. But just to make sure, you know, there's no blowback back to the person I spoke to. But here's the big thing. I'm going to take what I was told, and then I'm going to put my spin on it, right? Someone says this, and I'm going to tell you what I think about that. And that's allegedly, in my opinion. And I may repeat that throughout the video, but
I will not repeat it throughout the video. It's in my disclaimers. It's always been in my disclaimers, in my description. It is what it is. I go out, I look at things, I report back what I find. People can take it as fact. They can take it as opinion. It doesn't matter to me. But for my statements, until and actually, you know, a lot of the stuff that we find out where people have already told law enforcement, it can be taken as fact. This person has spoken to law enforcement about the stepfather. So whether they want to release the information or not, they can't say it's a lie. Or otherwise, prove it. Show me it's a lie.
Also taking what I was told is allegedly, in their opinion. However, they interacted directly with him as they worked with him. So just want to throw that up there. So that's where we're at. And back to, we will not forget you, Sebastian. That's a promise. You're going to see how relevant that is in what I'm about to share with you. So the job site, as you know, in my video of searching in Memphis, as well as yesterday's recap where I talked about Memphis, I really didn't even know I was going to go by the job site when GPS was taking me to my location to search. Did not know I was going by the job site, and there it is. And you see the cranes, right? We know Chris was a crane.
Just be careful, Silvers, because I'm just saying they're going to be coming after you next for stalking and harassment because you're reporting information on your YouTube channel, and they like to stalk people and blame people for stalking them when it's really just the opposite. So just be careful, my friend. Just be careful.
Tower crane operator, right? And so he worked on one of those cranes. Now, this is big. Information from the job site. Chris Proudfoot job site. Did you know? Because let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I put the did you know in there because I don't think I knew any of these things. I knew things related to them, but you're about to see what I was told. I did not know this. And after being told these, I got very emotional, and I'll explain that when I cover everything I was told. But did you know? So as you listen to these things, did you know these things? Because I don't think these things are out there. And it's going to lead us right to, we won't forget you. The people that are out looking and searching for Sebastian, who are trying to bring him home and find him. But did others forget you? Did others forget you on the same day you went missing?
Wow.
Allegedly,
very powerful information.
Yes, they did. So let's dive into it, right? Let's dive into it. Let's not waste any time. You know, I watch YouTube videos and I go, why are you wasting so much time? Let's dive into it. We're going to do it like this, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this up here. And that is right here. And then I'm going to throw this up there, right here. Okay, so here's what we know.
Let me just turn this light off so we don't have the glare. Okay.
We're going to do this like this because I want to reveal these things to you as we go through. I'm going to keep Sebastian over here so we can see him. What did I learn? What did I learn? So here's how this came about. I made a visit to RV to make sure, an RV place in Memphis that I'd never been to see it. We have 519 people in chat. Guys, if you guys can go out or hit the 3 dots at the bottom and give me a thumbs up, I'd greatly appreciate it. If Chris had stayed there. Because based on where I was looking, it would make sense for Chris to stay there. It's the closest RV to the job site. While I was there, I learned a lot. Let's jump into it.
Good point, Karen. It doesn't really matter. They lied to the judge. They lied. The judge knew that this was not stalking. He made a stretch. He knows he made a stretch. I keep reviewing all Tennessee law, and I know exactly that it was a stretch. So I'm very, very upset about that.
I was able to speak to someone who worked with Chris, because Chris is not working there now. You know, one of the questions somebody asked, I was talking to more than one person. Where's Chris now? I don't care where Chris is. I'm not worried about where Chris is now until we...
Nobody is. Nobody is. We're searching for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Just FYI. That's what I was out there to do. That's what Silvers is out there to do. That's what Seth's team is out there to do. Nobody gives a rat's patootie about this Yahoo.
We find Sebastian. And when we do, then we'll focus on that. That's your get justice part, right? Get justice. Let's find him. Let's keep the awareness live and find him. So, what did I learn? Here we go. Diving in. Big. RV not at job site. So by coming by the job site for the first...
And just to let you know, we did state that at the beginning because, well, when I went there, because I had spoke to people and they said there's no way anybody that's employed there is staying on the job site with their RV. There were work like trailers there for offices and stuff like that, but there's no place in that area to put an RV. Just FYI, we reported that, and everybody was saying that that was not right. I knew that it was right. I knew my statements were right because I spoke to people across the street from this job site.
Time to seeing it. My thoughts are you could not put, not just Chris, but anybody that worked there could not park their RV on that job site and just wake up and come right out and work. There's really not room for it. So talking to the person, I said, hey, could he have put his RV here? Oh, no, absolutely not. No one can. Okay, so there were a lot of comments. Oh, Chris was at the job site, his RV. It was not. Not only was it not at the job site, Chris's RV was not at the Memphis part that I was speaking to. Okay, it's about 8 miles from the job site. 6 miles from the location I was looking at when I was looking for a possible body bag. Great, straight shot into the RV. From the RV to the job site, so it would make sense. And there are people that work at the job site that are staying there. We discussed Yogi and Easy Days and all these other ones, but this one, he was not there. Furthermore, the one thing I didn't discover, one thing I did not learn is where he was the night Sebastian went missing. The thoughts were this, because I asked the question, the thoughts were more than likely Yogi. Okay, but we're not 100% sure on that. Okay, what's next? Shady. Shady, not to trust. The words I was told were this. I believe he's a shady person and would not trust anything he says or does.
I want to remind everybody this is coming from the person that worked with the stepfather, according to Silver's on the scene. And this is what the person has told Silvers. Okay? So this is somebody's opinion about the stepfather that they work with. So I just want to clarify that this is opinions. This is not fact, but the fact is somebody did tell Silvers this, not necessarily that the information told to Silvers was fact, if that makes sense.
Will not trust anything he says or does. That's really not revelation, because we've all heard him in his interviews where we see him, or where he calls into channels or podcasts, or ever how he's talking. You know,
we were told he lives a private life and wants very private time, that he's not doing anything to put himself in the public light, but we have literally more than a half a dozen interviews on social media and mainstream media, which contradict that statement that was given to the judge in my court case.
This is allegedly in my opinion, but at the same time, I don't know Chris Proudfoot. I've never met him. I've never spoken to him. All I have to go on are his own words and behaviors.
Amen.
And I've said this before. Go back, find some videos. His words and behaviors make him unlikable.
Amen.
Make him suspect.
Amen.
In this entire scenario.
Amen.
Where is Sebastian Rogers? Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the one I saved you. I put it kind of in the middle. Relieved at 11 a.m. Yeah, there's that pause. Let me pause a little longer. Relieved at 11 a.m. Chris was deemed unsafe on the job site.
Whoa!
Chris was deemed unsafe on the job site.
Whoa!
Chris was deemed unsafe on the job site. Yeah, you heard me right. Unsafe. Safety risk for himself and others. That is a big...
Safety risk for himself and others.
Unsafe. Safety risk for himself and others. That is a big job he does. If you don't understand tower crane operator, let's just throw this picture right here back up. You see how tall these things are? You see that these buildings are made with iron. These are iron beams, steel beams, that are lifted up by these cranes that Chris operates. So what I'm saying is, if you got to be clear-headed, you got to be sharp and focused. And evidently Chris is. He wouldn't be doing this job. Let's give him credit. Evidently he's sharp and focused, and he can operate one of these, because he's up there. He's way up there himself operating this thing. But on this day, ooh, we don't want that revealed. Hold on. On this day, at 11 a.m., 4.5 hours. That's right. 4.5 hours after reporting his stepson missing, meaning three-way call with Katie, 6:30 a.m. Not only is he still working, he's still working at 11 a.m. We'll talk about that in a minute. But he was relieved because he was not focused. Not focused. Off. O-F-F. He was off. On the same day, his stepson goes missing. So he was relieved. Chris wants to tell you, everyone listen, myself and anyone who will listen, that the reason he didn't get home till 1:30 or 2, leaving the job site at 11, I don't know if he specifically said 11, but he probably did, was because no one was there to relieve him. BS.
Wow.
Allegedly in my opinion, but...
Allegedly in my opinion. I'm just reporting what we're finding. That's all, y'all.
Hey, I've been told there were more than one relievers. There was at least one reliever and possibly two on the site
Boom!
that day. Come on, Chris. Let's move on. arrived 6:30 a.m. Chris wants.
I am stopping right here. Why is this so important? This number, this right here, is so stinking important. Why? Because of the Nancy Grace interview. What was said in the Nancy Grace interview? Okay. I'm going to state it, not verbatim, because I didn't pull the Nancy Grace interview. Sorry, y'all. But we can search for it. But I know, actually, I think I know exactly where it's at because I wrote it down on a pad. I got to find the pad. I think it's in my bag. Anyways, let's just get back to why is 6:30 so important? Because on the Nancy Grace, now I'm paraphrasing. I'm not saying this verbatim, so do your own research. It is on the Nancy Grace interview. Where was Nancy Grace's interview? Of March 25th. March 25th. We might locate it so we can listen to it. What was stated on there is that he was confused. It might even have been the green shirt interview. Somebody's going to have to help me out with this. But he stated that he was in his tower crane when he received the phone call that morning from the mother. The mother states that she made the call within 3 minutes of waking up and realizing her child was missing, which we can equate if she wakes up at 6 a.m. and it took her 3 minutes before she made the phone call to the stepfather to report her son missing. That would have been about 6:03 in the morning. This is just their statement. I'm not putting anything into this. You guys can remember it, fact find yourself. And then they state there was this point where he said, well, I was a little confused. I was in the crane and I had my crane earpiece in this side and my phone earpiece in this side. And I was like, huh, what? Well, if he didn't get there until 6:30, how could he be in the tower crane with his earpiece in at 6:03 in the morning? That's why it is so stinking important about that 6:30. Because law enforcement was called at 6:33, 3 minutes after he arrived at work. So, what is true here? Let's just keep listening to Silvers. He did a lot of great work. Big shout out to Silvers for this great commentary and investigative work.
What's the thing make you believe 5:15? Why would he need to be at the jobs? Let's think about this for a second. Why would a tower crane operator, when no daylight is up, it is dark, why would he need to be on the job site at 5:15? I think you've seen some other creators go out there and see.
And I want to say this. This was not only lied about, this was perpetrated and disseminated by Seth's own PIs because they didn't know what they were doing and they don't have an investigative bone in their body. And so everybody believed, because they believed these two PIs were reliable sources working to find Sebastian, and they literally put misinformation out, disinformation out, and they did it constantly and consistently, thinking that they were helping when they didn't know their ass from a hole in the wall. Sorry, not sorry. The proof's in the pudding.
Others may show up, inside workers, drywall workers, many different types of construction people at 5:15. What I was told is there would be no reason to be there before 6:30 a.m. And then you're going to start in your crane around 7. 6:30 is when he's reporting his stepson missing. 4.5 hours later, he's relieved. Why tell us 5:15? Come on, Chris. Focus off, OFF, unlike other days. I told you, I'm going to give Chris credit. I will give people credit whenever I can. I'd like to give Chris a lot of credit. Chris, you're listening to this. Talk to me. Even.
Hold on, guys. Sorry. Little. If you're going to get up, but don't cry. Okay, sorry. She was trying to get up, but apparently she's now wants to run away from me.
Tell me, Silver's on the scene at yahoo.com. Silver's on the scene at yahoo.com. Silver's on the scene at yahoo.com. You are making yourself unlikable. You are making yourself untrustworthy, shady, not to be trusted. Words and actions. Words and actions make you like that. Your focus was off, unlike other days. You ever watch Columbo? Columbo will notice when someone's focus is off. Law enforcement notices when someone's focus is off.
Are we sure about that? Because it doesn't sound like anybody knows their butt from a hole in the wall some days. I don't know.
Let's refer to other cases, high-profile cases. Just think about them. You'll hear on the media, you'll hear about law officials going and saying, hey, Jim, how was Bill the day his son went missing? Was he normal? Was he upset about his son? Did he want to find his son? Was that why he was off? Or was he just normal, like a normal day? Behavior and focus. This day, a guy who's very sharp, he has to be sharp to do this job. But on this day, his focus was off, unlike other days. And we're going to end it with this, and we'll cover them all. This is the kicker, ladies and gentlemen. So let's just say I get relieved from my job, okay? Whoever it is that comes over and says, hey, man, we're going to have to pull you off. You're just not focused. Then you would think, okay, so let's take Chris's words. I was relieved when they got a reliever. That's why I had to work till 11, okay? So you would think, he's reported Sebastian missing. He gets off the phone at 6:30, turns to his supervisor if he's on the site there or on his way to the site. When he gets to work, hey man, my stepson's missing. I need to get out of here as soon as I can. Now, I would leave right then. Hell, I would call him. I wouldn't even be on the job site. Soon, I would be headed towards Hendersonville while I'm on the phone with Katie and the law enforcement and the sheriff or whoever they called, right? And I'm on my way. I would have probably been there, 3-hour drive. We know this. I've done it 5 or 6 times, 3-hour drive. I'd have been there at 9:30. I don't think Chris, out of his own words, got there till 1:30, 2 p.m. He was working. So when they come to relieve him, and you would think he'd go, I'm so sorry. I know I'm off. I probably shouldn't have been working. My stepson has disappeared. We don't know where he is. He didn't, though. He didn't report Sebastian missing to his work. What?
Does anybody find that odd? I'd like to see a show of hands, because we just got out of the Leilani trial, and they're trying to blame Daniel Youngkin for this child's condition. But when Leilani called Daniel, he didn't even clock out. He ran out of the building. Now, mind you, Quentin was not his son. But he didn't clock out. He didn't ask for relief. He ran to his car, got in his car, left work unannounced, and went to his house to find out what's going on with his stepson, because they're not married. You know, it really wasn't a stepson, but he had a step-parent role in Quentin's life. And then you have this polar opposite of where this step-parent sat there and worked and kept it all hush-hush. Like, I don't know any parent or step-parent that's missing a child that wouldn't go and pull their manager aside and say, I have a private matter that's going on in my house and I don't want everybody knowing about, but we don't know if our stepson, my stepson ran away from home, or if something bad happened to him, but I need to go home and I need to go home now. Do you have anybody to cover me? That's kind of how the conversation we've all had tragedies go on in our family. We've all had things that happened while we were at work, especially if you're a parent or a grandparent. Something has happened that you needed to leave right then and there. Right then and there. You didn't lie to your manager about it. You didn't broadcast it to the whole company. But you let your direct supervisor know that something's going on and you have to leave for the day. And what needs to happen to accomplish that goal? You've got to go. You don't want to leave your crane unmanned. What do we need to do here? That was not discussed. He wanted it hush hush at work. And then let's talk about the behavior we learned from the news reporters. So I'm going to take this as fact because I don't see why the news reporters would lie about this. And we have a news organization saying when he arrived home, he told them not to videotape his home. Seems like he really wanted to be hush hush about this. That morning, when seconds and minutes matter when a child disappears. Their life depends on those seconds and minutes. And every time you withhold this child from the news or withhold this information from the news, it's putting that child at a disadvantage. What parent wouldn't be screaming from the rooftops that their child is missing and everybody needs to be looking for them? In this case, they were literally telling the news not to show the house and not to talk about it, basically. I've never, in all of my years watching true crime, and the several years I've been covering true crime, this is a first for me personally. An absolute first for me.
So let's think about this. Hang the phone up with Katie. Law enforcement's descending on her house. Boom, big searches. Everybody's out looking for Sebastian. Chris Proudfoot, allegedly, in my opinion, based on what I was told, gets off the phone and goes to work. And 4.5 hours later is still working. I'm just visualizing moving those levers and picking up that steel and that iron or whatever and lifting it up to where they can put it. He's working, and his stepson is missing. His wife is all sorts about herself. Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? 4.5 hours later? Now here's the question I have. He was relieved. Not his doing. He didn't say, raise my hand, stepson's missing, get someone over here for me. He was working. The first question I have, what would have happened had he not been relieved? Would he have worked the full shift?
Yep.
I'm assuming 7 to 3. Maybe they go 7 to 7. I don't know. 7 to 4. Would he have worked the whole shift? And then told us that there was no one there to relieve him? Not only did he not report him missing, when I was told that he was relieved, I asked the question this. I said this. So he probably said, like, stepson's missing. Oh, no. We had no clue his stepson was missing.
All right, guys.
I said, what? You mean to tell me this guy's working 4.5 hours and he hasn't told anybody? No. We didn't learn this till after he was gone. We didn't learn this till after he was gone. We didn't learn this until after he was gone from the job site. So, ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? I think we've been asking this question since day one. day 2, September 26th, February 26th, February 27th. And now the questions just flow in even more as we're learning this information. So let's recap. Let's recap like this. Let's follow a timeline. Katie calls Chris, can't find him. Okay? These are what they're telling us. Can't find him. Let's call the sheriff's department. Why, Katie? Why, Chris, you didn't call 911? 911. 911. Beep, beep, beep. 3 numbers. Boom. I'm going to ask a question. Was it because 911 is recorded? Allegedly, in my opinion, that's why you didn't call 911. So they report him missing. Kristen gets off the phone with Katie and not get in his truck and head east to be by her side to look for his stepson. He started working. Tells us had no one to relieve him. Now we know there was at least one there to relieve him, if not 2. And that he didn't stop working at 11 on his own. He was relieved. He was pulled off the job because focus was off, unlike other days.
Hey, Jules. Nice to see you, my love.
His behavior was off. He's a sharp guy. Let's go back. I keep going back to this. He has to be a sharp guy to operate these. But on this day, the day this boy went missing, his stepson, focus was off. What else? Do not trust him. These are people working with him. Who knows you better than really 2 people? Your spouse or your coworker, right? There's those jokes. She's my wife work. He's my wife husband, right? We spend the most time with the people we work with and the people we live with.
Amen.
Roommates, family, spouse, co-workers. Not to be trusted. And no, he could not have that RV. Nobody could on that job site. So, what do we say with all this? We scratch our heads and we go, wow. So for me, when I approached to ask,
what are you getting into?
Did Christopher Proudfoot stay at this RV? I was looking at a minute or less. Yes, no, take the flyer, thank you. This turned into about 15 to 20 minutes. Now, I did leave my phone number. And
hold on a second. Delilah wants up. At least she says she wants up. Let's see if she'll get up. Come on. Ah, there you go. Now you really want up. Okay, now sit down. All right, sorry, guys. Got to take care of the kiddo. Texas Cowgirl Up says, thank you, BHB, for keeping Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers alive. You're doing an amazing job. Thank you. I might lose my freedom over it, but we're going to still keep going forward. We know that there's a story here. We know that there's a case here, and we know that there are several people lying through their damn teeth. And I'm not going to be ashamed. I'll walk with my head up high on this one.
I don't expect a call. I'm not looking for any really more information because let me get to this part. And that's this. And I'm going to bring him center here. Ladies and gentlemen, I've told you, I'm compelled to find Sebastian Rogers. I'm compelled to do what
we are all compelled to do it. I will tell you, this is a labor of love. Nobody would go through all of this from social media if they weren't laser focused on trying to bring this child home. I'll tell you, I would not be going through this if I'm not laser focused on bringing this child home.
Wherever I can, when I'm not working my full-time job, providing for my family to pay my bills, when I have time, I'm looking for this teenager, this boy who should not be missing. Okay? And I've told Silvers too how passionate I am about it, because not only should he not be missing, but in my opinion, other than his biological dad, his mother and stepdad did not protect him.
Amen.
And that's just wrong.
So if you guys would like to see the rest of that, that's the bulk of it for Silver's on the scene for that video. But what eye-opening that was, and I know we've known this information for a little while, and to have it corroborated again, you know, in multiple times. Like we've heard from people on the ground, multiple people that I was out front of there. I was across the street on one of the side roads, like. They have the big project, then they have the main road, and then it's a side street right in front of the gate where they had like the trailers that were either storage or offices or something like that, and there's a big gate around it. I was away from the job site over there, but people were parking, you know, getting there early and parking on those side streets to get a parking spot. And so they were there early, and so they were standing around and were willing to talk to me. And that's when I found out this information myself. Well, now he's talked to, so I talked to several people about it. They've confirmed it. That's why I went ahead and I had no problem telling my audience about it. It had been corroborated and confirmed by multiple people. To me, it's fact, it's true. Then we had Silvers go out there and speak to a direct supervisor of someone, you know, somebody of higher up than the people I spoke to. I spoke to the labor pool. I spoke to the people that were going inside and working in the building on the first floor under the lights. The people that do arrive there early. And so those were the people I was speaking to. Well, he spoke to somebody that was part of the crane crew and the management of that. And so now we have several people I spoke to telling me the same exact thing that this person is telling Silvers on the scene. To me, that's fact. To me, that's corroboration. To me, that's multiple witnesses, multiple people saying the same exact story that have no connection to one another. That's huge. That is absolutely huge. Look at this little girl. She's just 6 whole pounds. This little brat is 6 whole pounds. She's spoiled rotten. She's spoiled rotten. So, you know, those are things that we need to take into consideration. You know, it's just like wow. I was hoping to get over to the second video, but I'm looking at our time and I realize that this is going to take a little longer. Well, this is another topic all of its own, and that's related to the dinner on Sunday night. So I think what we'll do is we'll wait for that conversation for later this afternoon. I think I'd like you guys just to digest what we've learned from you know, Silver's on the scene so far, what his work revealed, and go back to my work at that and listen to exactly what I said standing out on that side road in front of his St. Jude's job. Oh, thank you, Gypsy. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you so much. I want you to go back because it's titled, you'll see it. I've got the picture of his job in the thumbnail. So go back and listen to it. And I want you to hear what I tell you guys in that video. And then I want you to go back to the Silvers on the Scene video and re-listen to that. How are we getting this? I'm not affiliated with Silvers on the Scene. I don't know the guy personally. I've not talked to the guy personally. I think I've had maybe one interaction with this man by email. I don't know him. How in the world can him and I have the same exact story when we have no affiliation with each other? We don't talk to each other, and we're both out at this job site and have the same exact story? The same exact story? That doesn't happen. That means the people on the ground were telling me the truth, and his supervisor or whoever, hey, Mr. and Mrs. E Crime Cast, it's nice to see you, loves. It's hard to have the same, almost spit and image statements. I think my statement was all next to verbatim. next to verbatim. If you guys don't see, I got my whiteboard in use. It says justice for Sebastian. I have to make the words a little darker. It looks perfectly clear to me turning around, but the light in the distance, you can't even hardly see it. So I'll have to change that for the next one. I love the whiteboard. We're going to be Carl. We're going to be holding it up. We're going to be connecting the dots on it. You guys are going to see it. It's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. I got plans for the whiteboard. I got plans for the whiteboard. But that's just really interesting. He did find out some more information, though, than I did, okay? And that was because the people I spoke to didn't know this guy. They just talking generally that they the crane crew wouldn't be there, but they get there between 6:30 and 6:45. He confirmed 6:30 for this man. I had more of a general time frame, not a specific time frame. I was told that if anybody got there at 5:15 and started crawling up those cranes, they would be calling law enforcement because nobody is supposed to be up those cranes. They wouldn't even have any knowledge that somebody would be up those. They would think somebody broke in on the job site, right? So seeing somebody, that's the way it was told to me. Nobody goes up the crane that early. And if anybody saw anybody walking up the crane that early, they would be stopping them and asking them questions because they don't know why anybody would be going up the crane. That's how it was kind of couched to me. Not verbatim. I can't remember exactly what was said. I didn't record the conversations. I just had the conversations with these people just to get the information because I wanted the information more than I wanted the video. And so that's how it was couched to me. And now, Silvers went a step further and found out that he was there at 6:30, and that he never reported. Because they didn't know the stepfather, so they didn't know that he had not reported. I never even thought to ask whether or not he reported his stepson missing or not. But we did find out from Silvers in this this report that he did that nobody even knew until after he left that his son was missing. And then it reminded me about the time he was approached in an interview asking why was he screaming at the news reporters to not record his house. And he's like, well, I wasn't screaming at him. I just went up there and just asked her if she'd please not get my house in the camera shot. That is bizarre and out of character for anybody missing a child. Nobody acts like that. And nobody hides the fact that they have a missing child unless there's something to hide. In my opinion. And I'm entitled to my damn opinion. And portions of communist America are just going to have to deal with people who are entitled to their own opinions. Just saying. And I just want to remind everybody, I'm not bossy. I'm just aggressively helpful. And if you're not bossy and just aggressively helpful, please hit up Sonia. She's got the I'm not bossy, I'm aggressively helpful shirts available. I love it because it describes me to a T. I'm not bossy. If I say it enough, it'll come true. I'm just aggressively helpful. I like this is aggressive true crime. We had those aggressive recipes or whatever on TikTok. I love that gal. She does, she cooks her food aggressively. It's so cute. It's so cute. So anyways, I've got a lot of work here to do today. I got some legal paperwork. I got some proving that a shady attorney is lying and has been lying to a judge for a long time. And we're just going to keep throwing that in there to, while they're trying to discredit me with manipulating the words that are coming out of my mouth, I'm going to just prove to the judge that these people keep lying and he can't take anything they say seriously. So KP also requested Ellie not to use her last name as well. They tried to hide Bob. It's hard not to think that there's more going on when you got them trying to keep this so hush-hush when every other parent we know wants to raise the alarms and demands that that police do the, stuff that they don't normally do to get the message out. Call the FBI and call this person and call this person, and we want to make this as loud as we can possibly do. I need my child back. I need my child back. And here you're like, well, don't use our name, and can you keep our house out of it, and don't tell the bosses. Just shh. That is flipping nuts. Hey, but you're not allowed to have an opinion, because good gracious, you have an opinion about it, or you stand on a channel and talk about it. The people that work for the mom and the stepdad, the police and the courts, they're going to throw you in jail. They will throw you in jail and make up a reason why to do it, even though you've done nothing wrong. It's kind of a sick, twisted game in that county. And I'm playing it. And it sucks. But I'm still going to condemn them. I'm still going to criticize them. And I'm still going to talk about the case. And if they want to throw me in jail for exercising my American rights, I will do my time with my head held high. I'll be damned. I will be damned. I will be damned. So, Silvers, I'm glad you're a resident of Tennessee. Maybe they'll treat you a little more fairly than they did me. I hope that you don't have to deal with what I have to deal with. But if you do, we will be there raising our voice for you. I will tell you that. Keep up the great work. We're going to continue to monitor your channel. And we're going to continue to get the great work that you're doing. This is a reminder that Sebastian Rogers, which disappeared on February 26, 2024, and has not been seen or heard from again, there is a $125,000 reward courtesy of the FBI, as well as Dog the Bounty Hunter and Nick the Hat's team, to help raise awareness and to get this case solved. If you have any firsthand knowledge, you want to be anonymous, reach out to 833-TELL-DOG. If you have firsthand knowledge and you just want to help solve this case and bring this boy home, please reach out to your local FBI or the Memphis FBI, or just pick up the phone and call 911, which is what the parents should have done and didn't. Why? More questions without answers. We'll keep digging into this case. We will keep investigating this case, and we will keep reporting our findings to our audience. I want to thank you all for being here. I want you to have a blessed Saturday. Don't forget, tomorrow is Sunday, where our group goes to church. If you guys would like to come with us, maybe I know we've got a lot of people that aren't very mobile, bedridden, or have mobility issues and things like that can't get down to their local churches, but still want to worship and still want to be around friendly people and be around people that they know. Well, come on over. Rover, come on over. We're going to be going to church. We're going to be praising God, and we're going to be lifting our hearts and our voices. So, and it's a great place to pray for the safe return of Sebastian Rogers. So if that interests you, please consider tomorrow. We do it around 9:15. We're the coffee club, so we're the early birds. So if you'd like to come hang out with us, please consider doing so tomorrow morning. I always want to welcome as many people as possible. One thing I believe this world is missing is God. And if we can share God and share the message, then maybe it'll brighten up the world into the future. It's just one person at a time. So if you haven't been to church in a while and would love to come back, please consider coming and hanging out with the coffee club. All right, guys, don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe, but more importantly, please be kind to one another. And if you are a disgruntled POS that just is a nasty person, and say you're tired of being that disgruntled, nasty person, today's a great day to turn the page. Come over, learn how to be happy again. We're happy to show you how. God bless each and every one of you. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up on your way out. What a great live. Don't forget to check out the interview we had with Jennifer Santinello. That was a really enlightening interview. Last night, it's another Tennessee case that we're covering. We had a lot more friendliness and cooperation from law enforcement when we were doing the work. Love Sullivan County, even Hopkins County, even though we criticized the sheriff there, we love the detectives that were open-minded and accepting of leads and stuff like that we were able to provide, and to sit down and talk to us. You know, it was great. It was great. We did have, you know, good cooperation in Hopkins as well as Sullivan County. When you get over to the communist county that we're in right now, you get nothing. They're pompous. They've got this, even though they don't. They believe anything that anybody says without investigating a darn thing. They let a stepfather leave for 17 to 24 hours without a tail, not knowing what that man was doing. And yeah, bad things can happen to people that live in nice houses. And I can attest to that, because why? Bad things happened in my home. I lived in a nice house. We didn't have law enforcement coming knocking on our door, but I can tell you things were not right. I didn't realize things weren't right until I was much older. You know, I'm very thankful that the things in my house didn't I wasn't subjected to until I was much older, an unruly teenager. And that's when I was subjected to some of the stuff. But by that time, it was too late because I was an unruly teenager, right? So anyways, guys, I just want to bring awareness to Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers' case, advocate for him, demand the truth come out, demand law enforcement do more, do better. Identify areas and get out there and search. You know, we need to bring this boy home. His father is really missing him. His father wants him home. I also want to thank all of our beautiful people in chat. I just go through some of them. Try Angel gave me a kiss. We got Shelly. Welcome to this crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum. Thank you so much for joining us crazies. Texas Cowgirl F says, thanks BHB for keeping Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers alive. You're doing an amazing job. And our beautiful Gypsy, we stand with BHB. God bless every single one of you. Guys, have an amazing Saturday, and we'll be back later this evening. God bless.